you feel crippled. I didn't eat. I didn't, get out of bed that week. Didn't leave my house. I felt terrified about, just being in my local area. Who knows who's going to see me? I felt under threat. I felt under siege.
Shut the fuck up, you. You haven't got a clue what you're on about. Please get off my screen.
Oh dear. It would appear there has been yet another unfortunate twist in the tale of the sad, ongoing feud between former England footballer Joey Barton and former England footballess Eni Aluko.
You're tearing me apart!
That's absolutely right. They are tearing us apart. That's the real tragedy of all this. When two colossi of the modern game, like Joey Barton and Eni Aluko, collide, there's only one loser, really. The fans.
You say one thing, he says another, and everybody changes back again!
Yes, it is a bit confusing, this whole litigative process that Barton and Aluko find themselves embroiled in. But fortunately for us, one of the two is an expert professional communicator. So I'll let Eniola explain what's going on.
Well, I think the prosecution were very good in making a clear distinction between opinion, which can be offensive, and grossly offensive. So the line between, what is acceptable and unacceptable, that's beyond the pale. Yeah. It's grossly offensive, and it's grossly offensive in terms of society, and that's the line. That's the line that I think has always been in the law.
That's the line that has always been in the law. Who knew that as well as being an expert communicator, Eniola Aluko is also a bit of a legal buff. But just in case any of you are wondering, she's engaging in something we love here on the Daniel Boland Show, and all expert communicators are great at. She was doing a bit of vague figurativeness there, Eni Aluko. She wasn't talking about a literal line like the one you saw my petrified chicken so obediently observing there in that clip. She was talking about a figurative, invisible line. But as invisible as it may be, it has always been there. Always. Since forever. Since Moses came down from Mount Sinai, right after the 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's ass, it says something about, there's an amendment. Don't be nasty to Eni Aluko. Okay, please, it's not very nice.
Who's Daniel Boland? Oh, Daniel Boland, this is a heavy hitter. Do you guys know who this is?
Former footballer Joey Barton has been found guilty of posting grossly offensive messages on social media. The posts were directed at Jeremy Vine and the football commentators Lucy Ward and Eni Aluko. In one post, Barton compared Ward and Aluko to the Fred and Rose West of football commentary.
Look, I'm sorry, but that to me is just some top-tier banter. Calling anybody the Fred and Rose West of whatever they do, comparing somebody to the most notorious, sickening serial child slayers is just some dark humour. It doesn't really imply anything about your character. It's just that I think they're shit. I'm going to say something really hyperbolic and edgy to express that.
After a 5-day trial, the jury at Liverpool Crown Court decided that Barton had crossed the line between free speech and a crime on 6 counts.
However, I do feel he crossed the proverbial line when he attacked friend of the show, Jeremy Vine. All right? There is no need to call Jeremy Vine a bike nonce, okay? Totally uncalled for. Joey also posted that Aluko was in the same category as Joseph Stalin and Pol Pot because she had, quote, murdered millions of football fans' ears. He went on to say that she had only been hired to tick boxes and that DEI was, quote, a load of shit that had come on the back of all of the BLM and George Floyd nonsense. Now, I have to say, Joey was a little bit unlucky with the timing of those comments about this being on the back of George Floyd BLM nonsense because very shortly after he posted that on X, Britain went through its own George Floyd moment.
Mr. Hill, this is unnecessary.
I can't breathe.
Sit up. This is ridiculous. Sit up, because if you can't breathe, you need to sit up, don't you? Or we'll just put you in the recovery position then, and we'll just leave you on.
I think he's now started to pretend to be unconscious.
Oh, please help me, somebody. This is like that Floyd. This is an assault. This is like that George Floyd in America.
Just explain to people who think it's just social media, someone's just messing about, why this becomes an offence, why the impact of this on you and how devastating it is to your peace of mind.
Well, I think the prosecution were very good in making a clear distinction between opinion, which can be offensive, and grossly offensive. So the line between, what is acceptable and unacceptable. And I think, what you've just read out, putting my head on the bodies of Fred and Rose West, associating Jeremy Vine with paedophiles, that's beyond the pale. Yeah. It's grossly offensive, and it's grossly offensive in terms of society, and that's the line. That's the line that I think has always been in the law.
It's just a line that's always been there. Oh, for fuck's sake. How is she the protagonist of all of this, by the way? Because I can understand in the case of Jeremy Vine, if somebody's not calling your bike nonce, that just means you look a bit gay on your bike. We all understand that that isn't literal. It's everyone understands that. But Joey Barton also said about Jeremy Vine that if anyone sees him near a school, they should call the authorities or whatever. Now, that does to me feel like Joey was crossing a line. It's accusing somebody of... Sounds like you're accusing somebody of something very serious, even if you're just joking, even if it is just dark humour. That's the kind of thing that could get somebody killed, In the case of Eni Aluko, crying about the fact that he compared it to Pol Pot and Stalin and Fred and Rose West, I don't think anybody thinks Eni Aluko. I don't think there's any danger that any nutter, no matter how crazy out there, is going to think that she's a serial child killer or that she's a communist dictator. Do you know what I mean? How is she afraid to leave her house? I can understand Jeremy Vine to an extent. Like, you can say he should have a thicker skin, he should ignore it or whatever. But if anybody's going to get litigious about this, it might be him, as he did. But Eni Aluko, it seems to me like she's just riding the wave of the publicity. Because, to be frank, she is the threat. No, she's not. She's just... There are a lot of blooper reels.
But when it comes to this championship, he's had a real impact so far.
He really has. He's the top scorer for Brazil over the last 2 years. He's got a great record, 19 goals in 40 appearances. Do the math on that. It's one goal a game, pretty much.
Just be a bit more consistent, because sometimes it can be amazing techers and the next minute's over the bar. But he's consistent, right?
You can get, and they responded really well. Got some big wins. Players like Dwight, they're playing really well.
A big club, and say, right, can you put in a bid in? And that would get my owner to basically put a higher bid in. It's a bit like an auction, isn't it? I don't think Manchester City actually want to sign Declan Rice. I think what's going on here is Arteta's picked up the phone to Pep, said, listen, Arsenal are going to do the sort of incremental bid approach. If you put a higher bid in, that will push my owner to... I think there's a bit of that going on.
Get it down.
Now look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you like there isn't any prejudice towards women doing punditry work on men's football. I'm one of the worst, When I see a woman on a panel talking about football, my eyes roll right back into my skull. But I've made concessions, throughout my life. Gabby Logan, Football Focus. I've even come to terms with Jill Scott on the Overlap podcast, so long as, she keeps her interruptions to a minimum about her kick shot in Northumberland or whatever. Shut up, all right? She's a nice person. She can be there, all right? It's fine by me if Gary wants to keep her. But look, it just so happens that Eni Aluko is really not the brightest. She's not the sharpest tool in the box. She's not very good is what I'm trying to say. She doesn't really get anything.
Now, Simon Jordan tweeted recently that, I think he was talking about Football Focus and similar things that you're saying that, where are all the white people, basically.
Yeah.
And he said, we need to get rid of this must-haves. I think he used the term must-haves. And I tweeted and said, well, what you're forgetting is the historical fact that white men have been must-haves for hundreds of years.
Oh, there you go. Look, do you ever have this sinking feeling when you're speaking to someone like Eni, where suddenly you realise that you've been wasting your time, basically? Did you feel the whirring, the humming of the cogs in her tiny brain there as she formed that sentence, thinking she was about to blow the interviewer's mind?
What you're forgetting is the historical fact that white men have been must-haves for hundreds of years.
She thought Andrew Gold was going to go, wow, this is my Truman Show moment. I'm touching the sky. Because she said that what I tweeted was that the must-haves were white men for hundreds of years. Look at the smug look on her face. Do you ever have that sinking feeling when you're talking to someone, you're like, oh my God, oh no, oh God, they're years, they're tens of IQ points behind. This whole conversation was a waste of time. They're incapable of thinking in more than one or two layers. They can't hold more than 2 or 3 thoughts at the same time. There's no memory from one sentence to another. You go round in circles. It's enough to cause a severe panic attack in somebody like me.
So you guys have benefited from being the must-haves, and you haven't had to be very good. You haven't necessarily had to be very good at your job.
I think
I'm feeling the need to jump in and explain. I don't need to explain, do I? I don't need to explain why everything she's saying is so fucking cretinous, do I? I don't. Anyone who doesn't get it can go and watch something else.
I think you're absolutely right? Except I would say that's not me, right? And that's the difference between a collectivist argument and an individualist.
What I'm saying is, I'm not saying you directly. I'm saying the must-haves over for hundreds of years have been white men.
Sure, but if we overcorrect for things that have happened for hundreds of years, how can we possibly get that right? It's like certain people suggest reparations for slavery. Some people say, what about the Jews and the Holocaust, right? All their wealth was taken away from them. What about I joked before about it, but the Irish, how they were treated when they first came to the UK. So many people have parents and grandparents who, and there could be some white man who seems to have had a really privileged life who actually his grandpa was a molester or something. Do you know what I mean? It's so hard. Once you start going back and going, the last few hundred years, all we can really say is today, since we've been alive, we're around the same age, what's going on now? Because I'm not benefiting.
But you say that from a place of privilege.
Do you know what the most incredible thing about that clip is? Is that Andrew Gold has gone on like a 30-second explanation there, giving Eni Aluko a way out, giving her the benefit of the doubt. He's thinking to himself, well, look, maybe if I stay calm and I explain to her how shit her worldview is, because maybe that is the case. Maybe she's just never heard an opposing argument. Nobody said no to her. They've always told her, you're oppressed because you're black, whatever. And maybe she just needs to hear some home truths, But in order to think critically, you have to hear opposing views. You have to get to know other ways of looking at the same problem, I guess. But he says all of that, explains how somebody might look white, but they could be Jewish or Irish, and they can have similar historical injustices that have gone on in their lives. They could just be white and they've got a dirty old granddad, like he said. But just a very simple explanation, the sort of thing that every 12-year-old should understand. And her response is completely, unironically, yeah, but you're saying that from a place of privilege.
But you say that from a place of privilege.
The funny thing is, Joey Barton actually tried to give her a way out and said that, look, the problem with some of these female pundits is that they're terrible at their job, but they're in this echo chamber where everybody's telling them that everything they're doing is great. because they're DEI hires and they're there to tick boxes, as he says. And it's not really their fault.
Even Eni Aluko this week saying she was scared to go out the house. I mean, you know, we'll have to take that at face value, and I think she's been a really good women's footballer. But let's be honest, she shouldn't be talking about the men's game. She's had ample opportunity, and she's not got better. For me today to say this week in the video, a peer group is saying to her she's doing really well. I'm like, okay, well, it's not her fault. She's clearly not getting the correct training to help her get better, or the correct constructive feedback loops. So actually don't blame me, and I don't blame any of the girls. But if I'm an advocate for men's mental health, and I'm talking to champion men's mental health causes and going hiking, well, we've got to think about young women's mental health as well. It can't be beneficial to these young ex-women footballers to be in positions and having to shut down their social media feeds for the amount of abuse they're getting for not knowing their onions. Now, the lads can't but not have a go at them. If you don't know your onions, if you can't count, if you can't do basic arithmetic, and if you can't describe what loads of lads are actually seeing, then they're going to get frustrated and they're going to say stupid stuff on social media. And I don't think it's fair on the girls, but they should not be in that position for it to happen. Like, so who's the responsibility lie on? Does it lie on the social media networks to block out the noise? Does it lie on the broadcaster to take these people off the screens?
When there's something complicated to understand, whether it's like, I don't know, an economic problem, a scientific problem, a philosophical problem, there are lots of different ways that you can talk about it. You can be very highbrow and academic and articulate using big words, and you can oversimplify things as though to explain it to a child. You can use thought experiments. You can use Socratic questioning so that the person starts to see your point of view. You can use case study after case study, show stats, show all kinds of... There are all kinds of ways that you can explain and get your point across. There are two kinds of people who, if they disagree with you, will never understand what you're trying to say. And those are the intellectually dishonest and the mentally subnormal. I'll let you decide which Eni is.
Now, because I'm not benefiting.
But you say that from a place of privilege, because
hang on, but you're the Sky Sports presenter, and I'm not allowed to sign things in bookshops. I'm not allowed to be in TV and things.
Well, I've earned it. I've earned everything I've got. I mean, someone could be watching this going, "Well, he's pretty privileged." I mean, this is a lovely studio, and
you've earned it because you was to an extent, because it's the mainstream media. You, like all the others, earned being a pundit via gatekeeper. Somebody had to decide, I'm going to give her a job.
Yeah.
I was unanimously, it was decided I couldn't have a job. Now, I did earn it. Like I told you, I went around and learned 5 languages.
Mm-hmm.
No other presenter's done that. Mm-hmm. Louis Theroux's not gone and done that. I gave up so much of my life to be able to do it. And the success of this YouTube shows I'm obviously quite good at it as well, right? There's not many people who get a YouTube and get this.
But you know.
So I'm saying I earned it as well. We both earned it, but you got the job and I didn't. And I had to do all this myself.
Right, but, you know...
And that's because of our skin colour. So, and yet you're calling me the privileged one.
No, I think there's been many years of privilege. And
there's been
many years of... Yeah, but we can't say that. We have to make sure that we don't repeat the past. We have to make sure that the oppression, frankly, and the racism and the inbuilt institutional things that make certain people oppress certain people and mean that I can't earn my privilege does not happen again.
Okay, Eni, let's pray to God that it is, in fact, intellectual dishonesty.
I remember seeing that tweet when he sent it.
Richard Madeley is having none of this, by the way. This would never have been allowed on Richard and Judy.
It's the one of which he's convicted with this superimposing of your photos. It kind of gets a visceral reaction from someone who's not involved, a viewer like me.
Yeah.
But for you, what was the impact?
Well, I mean, I gave evidence last week, Tuesday, about the impact on me, and it was really crippling. And the reality is, because Joey Barton has 2.5 million followers, that gets amplified. So you feel like the whole world is talking about you. The media then reports on it. You feel crippled. I didn't eat. I didn't, get out of bed that week, didn't leave my house. I felt terrified about, just being in my local area. Who knows who's going to see me? I felt under threat. I felt under siege.
Well, because you think that people looking at it who don't know you just might believe it.
Believe what? That she's Fred West?
Eni was asked specifically about Ian Wright's involvement in the women's game, both as an advocate of the women's game and as a pundit. And this was Eni answering that on BBC Radio 4's Women's Hour.
I've worked with Ian a long time and I think he's a brilliant broadcaster, but I think he's aware of just how much he's doing in the women's game. I think he should be aware of that. And the fact of the matter is, as I said, there is a limited amount of spaces. I can't dominate the men's game in the way that, you used Ian as an example. Ian is dominating the women's game.
Do you think it's wrong that he is?
I don't know about wrong, but I think we need to be conscious. We need to make sure that women are not being blocked from having a pathway in broadcasting in the women's game.
Oh, I see how it is, Eni. When the shoe's on the other foot, eh? Even the loveliest black man in Britain, Ian Wright, the biggest advocate for women's football on earth, is he's not allowed to take a punditry spot in the women's game because he's a man, right? I see. I wonder what other nuggets of wisdom she has to impart.
When I was 13, I was captain of my school soccer team. We had made the championships, and I was determined to win.
Oh, how did that get in there? That's not Eni. Anyway, no, I'm sorry, that was cheap. I've let myself down there. But I think for 20 minutes we've been thoroughly entertained. We've had a lovely time, haven't we? And if you agree with me, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, follow me on X and on Instagram to know when I bring out a new video, and join my Patreon if you want me to, keep this a Manscaped VPN and Foom Vapes free zone. Okay, they're offering me millions. And I'm turning it all down. Okay? Because I'm not going to sell my soul. All right. I'll leave you with Joey Barton's thoughts on the matter. Okay? I'll let him have the final word on all of this. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. God bless.
You came off Twitter 4 years ago because of the comments. Your mental health must be affected, because if people are just, if I went to talk about the Formula One, I haven't got a clue about Formula One, but I have got a driving licence and I've driven a car. And after a few weeks, they were like, shut the fuck up, you haven't got a clue what you're on about, please get off my screen. I wouldn't keep going back for years. Like, I'm telling you, I'd be going like, maybe I am shite at this.